Hello, welcome back to Infinite Roleplay. Nelson, I'll be your humble player slayer for the evening. We're going to be playing Flight of the Birdman. This is a very low prep improv game. Um, I have three players here. What this is going to be taking place in is a mountaintop. They're all Aaricokra. These Aaricokra have united under the rulership of a very large flock of griffins. In this custom setting, griffins are intelligent animals. They can't speak common, but they can speak Aaricokra. They have a common tongue between the Aaricokra and the griffins. They are uniting and growing in size generation after generation, expanding rapidly, especially seeing how early Aaricokra mature and in their life cycle. um, like I said, this mountaintop is Griffin's Peak. This is a custom setting, low prep improv game. I hope this will be a fun incursion. We're testing out some things from the elemental evil companion. So here we go. I'll let my players introduce themselves, their channels, and their characters.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Troy. I'm playing a character today named Rule. I also have a channel, sorry, it's DMT Tabletop Gaming, so check it out if you want. So, Rule is a cleric to Aslan, which is the god of intelligent beasts and talking animals. So, you see Aslan, or Osrul rather, descending down into the circular prayer area for Aslan, and the high priest of the god is just finishing up his speech. Osrul has never been a cleric or a priest for words. He's more of a person of action to bring the fight to the foes of the Aaricokra. So the priest is just finishing up his speech, and he's saying, "We will leave behind our savage ways and adapt. We will protect our own and bring war to those who will bring us harm." And as he's finishing his little conversation with the other clerics of Aslan, all of which are warrior castes, you see Osrul land swiftly beside the weapon array, and he takes a pole arm and then quickly flies back up out of the circle, ready to bring the fight to any foes, take up his position guarding the outlying lands.
I'm Gabe. I'm playing OCS, the Aaricokra officer. Basically, he leads a strike team of infiltrators and even scouts to see what's going on, make sure everything's safe. And if nothing is safe, then he basically sets up a quick route to actually intercept. And he usually leads the charge. He won't put other people's in harm's way if he can't do it himself. If he can't do it, then he'll make sure that he has someone that he trusts that doesn't impede or even slow down the growth, because we grow at a mighty age, and so basically he does take care of his own his underlings underneath him. And if, like I said, if he can't make it, he can get someone else. Otherwise, he will lead the charge with them, with the strike force.
As this scene is unfolding with the clerics and all of that, you see Zeed. Sometimes he's called Seed among his people. You will see him just casually fly down and look at the weapons along the table and slowly look at each one, and he sees one that looks more man-made, that kind of strikes his fancy. And what it is it's a giant greatsword, and he takes this weapon and he wields it for a moment, gives it a few swings, and then he looks at it and it just fades into his hand and slowly becomes one with him. And he starts doing a dance, almost like a rain dance, but it's more of an airy kind of feel than praying for the sky to make waterfall. And he's doing this, and as he's doing this, he's slowly lifting off the ground and flying.
Okay, gentlemen. You three have been summoned by the head shaman in this tribe. There are many in the shamanic caste. They are your direct link to what is equivalent to royalty in your tribe, which are the griffins. They are great griffins. They are larger in number, in size, and intelligence than any that have come before them. When you three are summoned, you see a large griffin, humongous griffin, sitting there regally, head held high, the rim of his beak highlighted by the sunlight, almost glowing. You can feel the regality. You can feel the power. You can feel that connection to this massive force of nature. Then comes a smaller griffin, large of size, flies down. He begins to nod his head and then starts nodding rhythmically and moving rhythmically side to side and starts circling, bobbing up and down, moving in odd but smooth, fluid motions. As it steps, its footsteps begin to glow in the ground, creating a circle. The circle creating runes. Air begins to fly around. You feel invigorated, almost like joining in the dance. You know that this griffin is the head shaman. As he moves in circles and the air swirls around, it swirls around him, and he transforms back into an Aaricokra. A very old Aaricokra. Almost ancient. About 40 years old, to be exact. As he transforms, he holds a gnarled staff, many charms, large feathers, most likely collected from his own wings over the years. Ah, my children, I I am glad you are here today. We, before the great Lord himself, have the honor of raising such a strong flock. My children, I have troubling news. Our our hunting grounds, there seems to be trouble there. There must be interlopers. Our stock of horses, they are lower than they would normally be. Hmm. It's troubling me.
I haven't heard news. Even those I sent out have never said they saw anything.
No, that is why it is so troubling. We have no sightings of these interlopers, but they exist. It cannot be a member of our own tribe, no. None would dare. Foolishness. And yet our stock, it dwindles. It dwindles more rapidly than it should. Our numbers lower and lower. They do not match up to our counts. My children, we. He motions back to the huge, this enormous griffin, and as he does, the griffin shifts, tucking his wings from side to side. We are greatly troubled. We need you to discover exactly what is going on here. This is...
I will go down. I will help. I will not take anybody out, so less numbers the better. And I will scour the area, I will look, and I will actually pose myself as being part of the flock and see what is causing, and then ambush those that take our flocks, that will take our steeds for ourselves. If that is what you wish, I will be more than happy.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Zeed will go. Zeed will go, but I wish to be named Wind Dancer among the tribesmen when I return.
As Zeed makes an actual request, this enormous griffin, he postures himself up again, spreading his wings, casting darkness upon you, blotting out the light of the sun, and his beaks begin to part. Zeed, you request recompense for carrying out your duties.
Think of it as a way of me proving myself amongst our tribesmen.
And the Grand Shaman begins to speak to you, not in Aaricokran, but in actual Auran, a language in which the griffins are not capable of reproducing. And he says to you, "Zeed, my child, calm down. This is the Great One. Do not anger him. This situation has him angered enough, please."
I was not my intention to anger anyone.
Does Alru want to chime in at all, or is he sitting back?
He's just kind of taking this all in. He's always very, very respectful when he's in the company of the great griffins, as he holds them in a very high elevated esteem. His god, Haslim, sees the griffins as the mightiest amongst his intelligent beasts, especially in this region. So if the god would want me to help this griffin, which he most certainly would, then Osrul would be very keen to participate in scoping out what's taking out the livestock below. But he's staying quiet, but he's just taking in all the information from the elder Aaricokra that's sharing it with Gabe and Sam's character.
Yeah. All right. So after the elder shaman, he says his piece to Zeed. He's like, "Please, go," and he starts speaking in Aaricokran again. "My children, go forth, discover what is going on." He's leaning on his staff, and you see him bobbing his head up and down and side to side once again. And he starts walking slowly in circles, but he's keeping his eyes on you until he turns his back and flips his head around and turns back on you again. The darkness still consuming you, the sun blotted out by the sheer mass of the wingspan of this enormous griffin. And he just starts mumbling. The shaman begins mumbling under his breath, you know, a little song or a chant. The footsteps of the shaman now leaving glowing patterns, wind beginning to build up. And right at the moment he transforms into a griffin, the elder griffin, the elder lord, begins to flap his wings once, woof, and you can feel the enormous amount of air build up. If you choose not to open your wings, it would actually knock you down. If you do choose to open your wings, the updraft alone is enough to take you aloft. And then a second time he billows his wings forward twice to carry those who accept this wind even higher. And in Aaricokra, the giant griffin says, "Go! Find out what is happening to my horses." And then he shifts in his seat. Oh, go ahead.
As I open my wings to accept his responsibility, basically taking me higher, I will spiral in a very fast motion straight up, and then basically know where my destination, wait for the other two to meet with me, and then basically dive down right into the area where we need to go, basically.
Yep.
So you see Osrul as well. He opens his wings and goes up into the air. And as he's ascending upwards, you see from the polearm that he had taken from the armory earlier, there's a red ribbon, and it flutters in the air behind him. You also see at this time that he's also quite laden down with materials. He has several javelins on his back in addition to the polearm that he uses in his two hands. He also has with him, wrapped around his waist, what looks to be a silken ribbon intertwined, and attached to it is a parchment book of some sort, probably a spell book, or in this case is script to his god Aslan. Even though he's from this society of shamans, these warrior priests of Aslan are kind of not looked down upon, but they're obviously coming at this society from a different angle, which he's proud of, but he doesn't talk a lot when the shamans are around. So he's happy to get out of there and get away from the conversation and get more into the action of things.
And Z is the last to open his wings, and as he does so, his form gets cloaked in darkness, and the darkness that had surrounded him before actually forms into slight platelets across his body, and this is him casting mage armor on himself, preparing for whatever it is to come. And he also calls forth his packed weapon, which was that great axe that he picked up before.
So basically, DM, we're leaving these high peaks of our homeland and we're going down to the grazing pastures of this livestock. Is that what we're doing? We're going down to the lowlands?
Yeah, it's you're not actually going down to the base of the mountain. This is an enormous mountain, and about 3/4 of the way up of the mountain, there is a large clearing, like a pasture. Over the generations, the Aaricokra serving under the Griffins have managed to acquire and raise horses from birth to adulthood and create generations of horses in this pastured land. They have been caring for this land, keeping the land clear of trees to ensure that it remains a pasture necessary to basically farm horses.
And we consume this horse meat?
Yeah, this is a staple diet for I mean, besides fruits and vegetables and other smaller prey that you catch naturally. This is like their quote unquote farm product. They consume this meat, and it is the desired flesh that the griffins eat.
Very
And,
good.
from some of the larger predators, the smaller tribes, anything that would normally threaten these small Aarikokan tribes is what the griffins protect them from. And in turn, the Aarikokans handle a lot of the smaller things, and even trade with certain villages at the base of the mountain. They usually trade in Aarikokan feathers because the plumage of your wings and even these griffins' wings are so large in comparison with normal-sized birds that it generates not necessarily income, but materials and trade like steel, other metals, different leathers and hides for making leather armor and other items not easily accessible from your mountaintop home, and not items acquired from tasks not necessarily suited for the Aarikokans to do. Now this pasture, this clearing, like I said before, it's almost like a farm. It's artificially enlarged. It is surrounded by trees, and there is a cave where the older horses, the ones ripe for slaughter, are kept. And if you enter this cave, there's of course Aaricokran attendants, feeding and making sure that each horse has a specific pen, separating them using writing implementations acquired in trade over the years to actually take counts. How many they have, how many are going to the slaughter, and how many have been slaughtered to remove from their counts. So at that point, you can do whatever you like.
So we go down into this clearing and into this cave and find this out. I'm going to look at Usus. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm going to say, where shall we begin?
Well, first, to the people who manage this area first, that would be wise. Aus, shall we? Now, when we go in, is it wide enough where we can have our full wingspan, or will we have to land right before the door?
What, the mouth of the cave?
Correct.
The mouth of the cave is a little bit smaller. They do it for population control. Ones that are geared for the slaughter to make sure that they can't be taken out or lost en masse. They can keep a control of how many they release and how many they need to watch.
Okay.
That way they can keep their counts accurate. Inside the cave, however, you can fly around, and they often do. The separate pens for these horses are actually multi-tiered, and they have magic going. They have shamans, lesser shamans, constantly casting light so that the horses would be calm. They have other shamans communicating with the horses to make sure that they are calm and docile, and never a trouble when kept in these confined spaces. And they don't walk upstairs; they just fly around through the levels. The cave itself is fairly large, but the mouth of the cave is small.
Makes sense. Okay.
So I'll land as well and walk into the larger opening. And while I'm doing this, I'm just kind of slowly caressing my amulet to my god that I wear draped around my neck. And I'm just reciting certain old scriptures from my book as well. Partly to counterbalance all the shamanic ritual that I hear in the cave. It kind of uneases me that I've kind of turned my back from the quote-unquote normal religions of my peoples, and have gone this way of this deity. So I'm kind of trying to counterbalance some of the nervous energies I'm getting as I go into this area. So I'm gripping my poleaxe a little tighter as well.
Yeah, a few of the older Aaricokrans, they fly down towards you once you walk in, and they greet you. Ah, a cleric of our new lord, yes. Please come. They notice that you're gripping your poleaxe, and they can tell your unease, and you can also tell that they embrace the newer ways, but they resort to the older ways to continue their trade, because it is the only way they know how to continue their trade. But they issue a few prayers forth to you, welcoming you, ushering you in. No doubt that you're more versed in the newer ways than they are. They give you respect, despite the fact that you are so much younger than them. These guys are like 12 years, 13 years, 14 years of age. They've been around for a while as far as Aaricokrans are concerned. But they do hold a lot of respect for you, and even for the shaman in training, which is Zed. They greet him welcoming as well. And the respect that they show Ausis is not necessarily as friendly, but they get out of his way. They respect him in that manner. They don't lay a hand on you. They don't greet you. They see you and they're like, "Whoa," and they just perk up and try to look more official in what their dealings are.
So as we go in here, this is where the livestock has been taken from, directly from this cave or from the lands outside of the cave.
Well, the livestock is kept in the cave,
Mm-hmm.
and certain numbers are released at any given time,
To go
so that
feed.
they can so that they can graze and spread their legs and embrace some of the more natural things that a horse does, to not to keep the natural flavors of the meat rather than have some sort of artificial taint to the meat. They want to keep the meat of the horse tasting as close as it would as if it was a wild horse on the lowlands.
Very wise. So we're going to go to, or I'm going to approach the elders, and I'm going to ask them directly for information regarding the missing livestock, and the ones that went missing. Were they removed or taken from the cave itself, or while they grazed outside?
You go to one older one. He's one walking around with parchment, writing down, making counts. He nods his head to you. Well, yes. As far as that matter, it confuses me. It does. As you know, we let specific amounts of our stock out to graze to preserve the quality of the taste. And yet, when I do my counts, it doesn't add up. They are going missing. The our benefactors, the griffins, of course, they know that we must do what we must here. They always wait for the prime times to be served. I, I know it's not them. And we ourselves, we cannot carry off fully grown horses. So it's quite confusing to me. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. There have been bloodstains on the fields, but no bodies, no drag marks. I'm quite confused.
Who would be brave enough to come into our lands and put upon us these transgressions? Would it be possible not to speak wrongly of our lords, the griffins, but is there a possibility that there might be a rogue amongst them? One acting on its own and not for the greater good of the community?
You speak of things so openly, which shouldn't be.
I speak of only options, Elder.
Well,
This could be an option.
yeah, if we were to entertain such a notion, I really don't know. I really don't know if we should, but our benefactors, as a rite of passage, as it were, their young are always allowed to hunt a single prey, to hunt what they need to feed, so that they don't forget that they are birds of prey. The elders of our benefactors, they tend to handle the larger problems, the other separate Griffin tribes and the other Aaricokran tribes and tribes of the other denizens of Griffin's Peak. They know that this is our mountain. We rule here.
As I'm walking around, I'm kind of not doing close sweeps, but just kind of keeping motion. My eye, that's why you see me tilting my head just to see how he moves when he's talking. There, that he knows something, and I can feel it because it's like he has the ledgers, and as I'm looking up and down, I just kind of look at his muscle movements as he's speaking. I know he's very nervous because we're already there. He's already nervous because he's gotten food gone, and he speaks of these personnel as if they can come in and kill, but I'm basically gonna look. So, what about the times that you lead out and you count them coming back in? Correct?
Well, we I make my counts when they're in their pens. You see, there's a place for each one, and everyone has their place. There's never been a need to count them as they come in.
I guess now is the time we change that.
And he's, well, it might be the way to go. I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
And you speak to these others. Have they come into contact with you and tried to, what's the word, cause conflict or make you in a situation where to be blackmailed?
Please, we are a tribe. We are one. Why? Why? And you start seeing a commotion. Not a huge commotion, not like one that breaks out in a fight, but because this area is so large and there is a lot of flight going around, and you guys are Aaricokran, you are avian in nature, you notice a bunch of Aarikokrans flying in formation towards down and towards the cave entrance as he's speaking. It doesn't break his train of thought, but that's what the rest of you would notice. And he continues saying, "Why? We are one. We are a tribe. We are a family. We each take part in our duties with." And then he puffs his chest up and holds the ledger close to his chest. He goes, "With great pride. I have been doing this most of my life. I've been doing this longer than you have been." And he holds himself, realizing that your station is more of an aggressive one, a military one, than his. More than I have been doing this for the past 10 years. Do you know the dedication that I have given?
And it's not forgotten. It's still there. We learn each day.
And as he says that, you just see Z just kind of pecking at air.
And Azrul looks at him and he says to him, "Elder, war is what happens when words fail. Your words have failed to keep your flock safe. You have failed. I will bring these transgressors war. Point me to the flock, and I'm going to just abruptly leave, and I'm going to go to where the horses are kept, where they're grazing. And I'm going to try to do some research or see if I could find some evidence of what would have attacked and carried the horses away."
Yeah. As you mentioned, war. Not only is this particular Aarikokra not of any sort of military training. I mean, every Aarikokra knows how to handle himself to some degree. But the notion of war, his eyes just open wide. And muddles underneath his breath, this newer generation, He's not one of the ones that greeted you earlier. This newer generation, you're so quick to these new ways. I don't understand them. But okay. So he starts perching up on the edge of this platform, and he's about to dive down towards the cave entrance. He goes, "Well, if you will be kind enough," and he drops down, falls down a few meters before even opening up his wings and swoops off, flies to the cave entrance.
I follow him.
Yeah, follow.
As he gets to the cave entrance, you notice just outside there is about half a dozen Aaricokrans, and they're petting and prepping and grooming half a dozen horses. They have a good size to them, and they look just about ready, just about that age. And you see a shadow on the floor. The shadow cast is of a griffin. It's not a very large shadow. It's of an adolescent, of course. And as they leave, the older one, the one with his ledger, he looks up and goes, "Oh, I had forgotten. Well, maybe you could be so kind as to escort the young one. This is his day of proving. I've forgotten." And he buries his head into his hand. And he's like,
What entails a day of proving?
you would know it as, the day a griffin child, an adolescent, becomes an adult. When they go on their first hunt. And on their first hunt, not many horses are released to give them some sort of challenge. And they are to hunt, kill, and consume one by themselves. It is what they do to ensure that they remain predators and not stagnate as rulers. To make sure that their young grow up knowing that they are predators.
Okay, I will ask him basically about that same question: is what entails of the day of proving? How many horses are released?
So he relays the information, that same exact information to you. And when he's saying it, he's constantly looking back and forward, looking down at the floor, squinting his eyes, obviously confused that you would ask such a question. And you hear him muttering again under his breath, these young ones, these new ways, whatever happened to tradition? His brow is furrowing close, his feathers obviously ruffled. He's trying to calm himself, combing down his feathers.
Surely this great creature, looking at the adolescent griffin, these masters of ours, these royalty amongst us, surely he should not need supervision or guidance in taking down a dumb animal such as the horses. They are our food, after all. There should be no challenge. What do you expect us to do? Hold his hand? If griffins were to have hands.
He sort of perks up. I would never, I would never suggest such a thing. And he's looking up at the young adolescent, almost worried that he would hear you say this. I would never say such a thing. And he starts speaking in Orin, so that the adolescent wouldn't understand. He lowers his voice a bit. But if there is anything out there, could you imagine what would happen to us if one of their adolescents, their children, were to come to harm?
Isn't that the rite of passage? He should be able to take care of himself.
Well, I am already. Your presence here shows that I'm already under pressure. The disappearances, lowers his head in shame. His posture changes. He's no longer forcing himself, in a very stand-up, chest puffed out. He falls into himself almost, and the the parchment where he was keeping his numbers, held high above his chest, falls down to his waist side. It's like, I just I just don't know what to do anymore. This used to be so easy.
Things are changing, but we are tasked with being here and to looking into these disappearances. We are going to the same area. I imagine we can keep a keen eye on the youth. I'm also speaking in Orin, so the Griffin cannot understand my words. We'll keep an eye on him and make sure he returns safely. But my main objective will be get to the bottom of what's happened to the resources of the masters. So even though I'm all respectful to the noble griffins and the elder griffins, this youth, this unproven adolescent griffin, I don't really show him the same level of respect as I did the elder in our original meeting. But I've agreed to his terms to look over this youth as he goes on its hunt of manhood or coming of age.
Yeah, and the Aaricokrans that you saw grooming, you would know, you don't groom prey. Prey is not groomed when it is found, when it is tracked. But over the generations, this has become more of a ritual than anything. So they've been grooming the horses as they calm them down, they feed them. And then after this is completed, you notice that the Aaricokrans attending these half-dozen horses, they sort of stop their chants and drop whatever magic enchantments they had on these horses that were keeping them in such a calm and docile state. And they start screaming at it, yelling, chirping, screeching to agitate it. And, it takes a few of them to hold each one down, and as it's getting agitated, they're looking at each other and timing, and their motions are trained and practiced, and you can see this, being that yourselves have trained and practiced in the motions of warfare, the motions of spellcasting. You can tell that they know what each other's doing, even if you guys don't. And just as at sort of the cusp of this excitement, they burst to either side, dispersing away from the horses, and a few needle points strike each horse on its hind leg to just create a very small wound, a very small bleed, just enough to accentuate the scent. And the horses run off. And as they run off, you see the shadow in the air, a screech, a howl, a roar, all mixed up into one, is let loose from the adolescent. One of just pure excitement and exhilaration, nothing that beckons regality at all.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously a child that has not come into his own, that has not had his first kill. He's nothing more than a child. You guys have trained way more than this adolescent. And he starts billowing his wings and he flies off, chasing after the horses.
All right, so before we get a chance to take off and follow this blood-enraged griffin youth, I'm going to reach into my side pouch and pull out a little vial of holy water, and I sprinkle around the circle of Gabe and Sam's characters, and I chant a little prayer to my god, and I'm just going to cast Bless on those two individuals.
Nice. As you begin to chant, a few of the Aaricokrans that were taking part of this ritualistic ceremony, when they were, getting the horses all excited and releasing them, they believe in the new ways, and they kneel outside of the circle and begin to lower their heads and sort of recite similar prayers as you're chanting.
All right, so I say, Aslan, guide us and give us strength to overcome these foes. Glory to those that bring you honor. That's what I say, and then I cast the holy water at their feet, and you guys feel a little blessing from a god you may or may not know and understand.
Yeah, and as you finish that prayer, almost in the same vein as saying Amen, the ones that knelt and mumbled prayers as well under their breaths, they all point their beaks to the sky and they open it up, letting out a screech, which is, their version of Amen.
So I acknowledge them in kind and do the same vocal and body language thing that they did.
Yeah, I would definitely raise my head.
He says that while stretching.
That was a way to get the right verbal in there.
Yeah, the correct verbalization requires a stretch, I see.
And after casting that, I am and acknowledging the other believers. I'm going to go skyward and try to keep pace with this this griffin. I don't know what their flying speed is in relation to ours, but I will try my best to not flank this creature because I want to give him his space to do his thing. But I'm just going to just stay back a little bit and just watch him from above, so slightly above where he is.
And I do my signature quick leap into the air, double flap on the third flap, basically doing my spiral straight up into the air, and then kind of doing a glide down, and then just swirl, and then just kind of then let the air draft keep me up in the air and just flap as I need.
Yeah, I'm dancing, and as I dance off into the wind, and my wings take me into the air, and I'm still dancing as I take flight.
All right, as you guys are flying, the adolescent is really not faster than you. You have about the same flying speeds, or the same average flying speed, as some of you are faster than others. It's flying away and it sort of spins around, falling a few feet as it's now upside down, looking at you guys, and it starts chirping and hollering. And then as it falls, it spins, dips around, and allows the wind to carry it back up into the air, but allows you guys to catch up to it. And it's like, ha ha ha! Come to see me do my thing, huh? As he's speaking to you guys. And he's just, nosing the air, smelling the scent, obviously not even chasing the horses anymore, just enjoying the fact that this is his proving. Horses have scattered by this time.
Okay.
Still flapping his wings, flies over you guys and starts doing barrel rolls and obviously being showboaty in every sense of the way, expecting you guys to be impressed because he's a griffin.
Right. I'm totally indifferent to what he's doing. I could care less at this point. As I said, I still see him as an unproven whelp, even though he is the master race of this mountain. I don't particularly see it that way. In some ways, Asrul thinks that we should be ruled by our own elders and by our own faiths, and not the way of the older generations. Some within my circle of priesthood believe that we should break away from these griffins and to become what we rightfully should be, which is our own rulers. So I'm definitely not impressed by the things that this young griffin is doing. I'm kind of hoping he gets back to his task at hand so we can return to ours. I'm not saying that to him, but that's mentally what I'm feeling in that moment.
He thinks, he shoots you a glance, and it's not even, there's no animosity at all in the glance, and he screeches out at you, ah, ha, ha, and starts doing barrel rolls again. And he goes, ah, your silence, I know. And starts flapping his wings, flying regularly. He goes, a good boy always knows his place, right? And starts flapping and starts double moving to leave you guys in the dust as far as it's concerned. And he goes, try and keep up, will ya? Those puny wings of yours. And your wings aren't much smaller than his. He is a small adolescent griffin. He's not big. He's not large. He's not very much larger than you guys. He's just about your size as far as height, about your wingspan. He's just a little bit bulkier.
What I'm going to do is when he does that, he starts taking off and he does that little, not my pride is taken in, but it's his pride that I'm going to show that he shouldn't be so prideful. I'm actually going to do my double flip and do my spiral to him to get a little faster. And I'm actually going to clip the back end of his body just to spin him around, but not so that he loses full control, but just enough to, like, you aren't vulnerable. You aren't invulnerable up here.
All right, so let me get an acrobatics check to see if doing that sort of destabilizes you in any way.
So if that bless is still active, it's been a minute, really. You can,
Yeah, it could be
strap that down.
Not a problem.
Okay, cool.
You're gonna let me do the bless with it because it's
do the best with it.
Because it's not really an attack.
No, you get for ability checks as well.
Okay, so that's a 15.
So yeah, the Griffin rolls a 19 flat. So you'll destabilize in the air and you'll lose quite a few feet. Not enough to hit the ground, of course, but you lose like 12 feet of altitude. He just you caused him to almost barrel roll down a little bit, and in recovering, he flies lower than you, dips under you, and then just sort of flies a circle around you like a loop-de-loop. And he goes, can't control your wings? Too bad, too bad. And starts flying forward again. He goes, watch, this is how it's done. And starts flapping and just smelling the air.
I would have stopped dancing when I saw the officer kind of falter in his flight, and I would have done like a nosedive towards him. But once I saw he was okay, I would have resumed back to dancing.
Yeah. So in other words, you would have dived down while the Griffin was doing that loop-de-loop around Alcis. All right. So he would have seen you, and he goes, watch how it's done. And as he's flying, he spreads his wings, and you almost see his body, shaking side to side, almost in dancing motion, but unable to do so as, it's not a biped, but it's sort of shaking its butt a little bit, trying to mock you. He's like, yeah. Can you smell the hunt? I smell the hunt. It's great. Are you boys keeping up? And obviously, you've already reached your point of maturity, while he's just at the moment in which he is to be considered an adult.
Does he have a name, this Griffin? Are we aware of it?
Well, all the Griffins have names, but you are not aware of it. You could ask him if you'd like.
No, I don't care what it is. I'm just going to tell him, I'm going to say, child, get to the task at hand. We grow tired of your games. We have business to do for the masters. We're not here to be your playmates.
Are you trying to intimidate him?
Definitely.
Yeah, roll it. Roll that intimidation check.
As I hear this coming from the clerk, I'm going to start dancing around him, trying to cheer him up.
Alright, so intimidation is a straight up roll. You want me to use dice stream? Oh, 19.
Okay. So, as you call him, child, he sort of spins around, closing his wings, framing his entire form as he falls backward. I mean, the momentum is still carrying him forward, but now his back is towards where he once was flying, and he's losing altitude as he's doing so, but you guys were flying forward so fast that it seems almost irrelevant. And he goes, child! Who? Turns around, starts flapping. I'm no child. I'm a man. Then he peels off to the left, leaving or trying to leave you guys behind. And, he's going back, letting out sort of half roars, half chirps, trying to assert himself.
You remind me of a talking lemon I saw in a dream one time.
What was that?
You remind me of a talking lemon I saw in a dream one time.
It's not that bad. His screeches aren't that. But yeah, he peels off, and his head is no longer high, sniffing the wind as he's flying away. He's more sort of tucked in what would be a predatory flight, because you would think reducing your form reduces the wind resistance, but he's more flying in that way to try to rush away from you guys.
I let him rush to get away because I want him to be, for me, by himself. Because if there's more, that's actually a good idea. Actually, to startle the animal more. But yeah, I don't want him to feel like he's being watched over. But at the same time, I don't want to make it look like has that help either. But it's good to keep my distance anyway. Even though I know I could catch up to him, I'm just not going to try. I'm going to let him have his little distance to see what comes of his first strike.
I'm keeping about 50 feet between me and him at all times.
So you're still following him?
Yep. But I'm not trying to make it look like it by keeping that much distance. I'm clearly just dancing, just kind of looking his direction.
Yeah. And what about Aus?
I'm going to bank in near to where Osis is flying, and I'm just going to communicate to him in Orin that I grew tired of this child. Any more nonsense from him, and I will be getting to what we're here to do. He will be left to his own devices.
I agree. But what we should do is the horses have been let loose. This might also give us insight of who might be out there taking the folds of the horses.
So yeah, as this griffin gets back to the business at hand, which is to potentially hunt one of these horses, I'm also going to refocus my intentions, which is scanning the land underneath, and just to see if there's anything out of the ordinary for this pasture and or grazing area.
All right, just forgive me for a second, guys. I'm gonna run away just for a moment.
Sure.
Aha, we made him leave.
Yeah, my computer's shit down, and it didn't shut down, it shit down.
I want to fight these griffins, man.
You really want to fight the oppressors, don't you?
They're not really oppressing. I wouldn't say that. They're more.
No. I think we respect them. I think it's just an ancient culture that we've always been underneath these things.
It's gonna. Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to get out of them, it'd be a very long while before it separated again. I think it's a mutual benefit for both parties.
Exactly.
So.
I just don't know. Well, it's made up lore, obviously, so I'm just putting a different little
it does make
wrench into the situation.
And not really. It does make sense because they were on their own. Now they're playable, so that makes things are going to change of how they interact and how they view the world. They have their own personal ideals and changes that may happen within amongst a lot of things. And yeah, I mean, this is more of a quick gathering, but it also gives us more insight. You know, how these Aaricokras are going to change some of the world.
I'm back, but so you were saying you were trying to keep an eye out for any sort of disturbances?
Oh, definitely. I'm trying to perceive if there's any other type of predator amok down there amongst the, either in the air where we are or on the land.
So you're no longer following the...
No, I'm still following. I'm just not really paying too much attention to his aerial maneuvers and all that, right? I'm not flanking him.
He's not even doing any more aerial maneuvers. Being that you guys are following him, he's every once in a while sort of perking back up and about to start getting into it, and he looks over behind himself, sees you guys, and like,
okay, cool.
Ducks his head in and tries his best to fly faster than you guys, which he can't.
Do we see any horses on the ground in any way at this point?
After about 20 minutes or so of flying around, you see that he picks up the trail of a horse, and you can see one in the distance. Not so far away. A few minutes away, and he's sort of he's stalking it, flying around it, catching up to it. The horse feeling that sort of predator nature, the adolescent sort of just getting into a groove, letting nature take over. He forgets you guys are following him. He no longer looks behind him to see if you're there. And you see him tucking his forelegs and his rear legs, getting in a position to allow himself to catch a little bit more speed. And he goes into a glide, no longer flapping his wings. Just coasting on the air currents, trying to close with this horse.
So he's going down to the ground at this point.
Yeah, he's not descending yet, but he's obviously prepping for an attack.
All right. So before he makes his strike, I'm going to do something very, very evil to this young griffin. So I'm still pissed that this guy had the audacity to do what he did to Ulysses, who I hold in very high regard. So as this guy is about to get to his horse, as he's getting closer and closer, ever so closer to the ground, I'm going to close the distance to 30 feet, and I am going to cast a spell. So you see me chanting to my deity, and I'm going to cast blindness on this griffin.
Okay, so as you're preparing for this, the griffin no longer, like I said, no longer paying attention to you guys, getting into that natural predator state that he should have been this entire time. He is of course making a very big mistake. He is not a practiced predator, and this horse is running, and you see this horse trying to get away, knowing that something is stalking him. The horse is running towards the tree line, and being a bird of prey that large, you don't risk diving in front of a tree line. But he is, apparently, and just as he starts to descend to go after at this horse, you cast blindness at him, and he doesn't even know to resist. He just goes blind. It just goes off. And then you see him dive down with all the momentum in the world. Closing his wings, just torpedoing down towards this horse. And the horse dips to the right, and he's still going forward. And, at first, the young griffin must have thought that this was a momentary blindness. This must be what it feels like to be a predator. Everything must go black as he was embracing the wind on his feathers, feeling that speed, driving forward, the smell of this horse, the scent of its blood, you know. Obviously, he must have thought that this was part of what being a predator was, but as he realizes it moments before crashing into the ground, he extends his wings, rapidly slowing down, but not fast enough so that he hits the ground and rolls into the tree line, crashes into the trees, and continues rolling, letting out screeches of pain as, tree limbs, not his limbs, as tree limbs crackle, go flying about. And you just hear, "Ah!"
He's still alive then. So I'm going to land beside him as he comes tumbling to a crashing halt. And I said, "Oh, are you okay?" He's like, "Please let me assist you. Aslam, my deity, my lord, would like to give you some healing assistance." So I'm going to heal this guy now that he's been injured.
Yeah, he's taken some damage. He's cut himself in the fall. He's bleeding in several areas. As you're speaking to him, he is obviously nervous, knocked out of this predatory state by leaps and bounds. He's scurrying, sort of moving away from your voice, like shooting his would be his glance if he were not blind, back and forward. No! What happened? What? Where are you speaking from? I can't see you.
Hear my voice, child. I repeat, I'm here to help you.
I'm not a child.
You're acting
I'm
like
bad
a child.
now.
We grow tired. You have done nothing to earn your adulthood.
He tries to stand up and puff his chest out, standing proud on his forelimbs, and just as he does so, and reels back in pain and starts pecking at a wound, trying to peck a few pieces of wood that have actually pierced him. And you hear him muttering, "I'm not a child, no."
I say, will you accept the blessings of Haslan?
Right. You guys, let me see. Oh, can everyone give me a perception check? Well, everyone that's there, inside the tree line. He's tumbled about almost 30 feet into this tree line, like he was going fast.
Okay, so I won't be receiving one. So.
All right. And House?
7 for me. I'm too busy trying to calm this youth and offering my hands to lay my hands upon him to heal him, so I'm not really paying too much attention of my peripheral, what's going on. I'm pretty sure 7's a fail.
All right, hold on. It looks like Gabe is talking.
Yeah, I was, but I realized my thing. I actually probably wouldn't be there yet. I'd be coming in, so if it's at that moment, I don't think I'd be there quite yet.
Okay,
unless you want to give me a disadvantage from looking outside, I can do that as well.
Sure, roll a perception with disadvantage.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and that'll be 12, so that'll be 17.
That's pretty cool. Just as you get there, you notice a few small forms within the tree line. They look like something you guys would hunt, about the size of something that you guys would hunt. But when you see them, once you can make out what they are, they're feline forms, small in size, but they're fairly bulky, fairly stocky. They seem to have faces that resemble the creatures of the lowlands, the ones that often are traded with. They have hair all around, seem to be having beards, similar to these lowland creatures. They have teeth jutting forward, similar to other lowland creatures. This is a creature you're not familiar with. And you see that this feline creature also has wings, though its wings aren't feathered. and you notice that its tail is tipped with dozens of what would look to be spearheads. And you see about 8 of them crawling in the trees. And they look like they're jumping through the branches, closing the distance between this fallen adolescent griffin and Ouse.
Then I will pull out one of my 2 javelins I actually have, and I'm actually going to spearhead it towards between where Ouse is and the first one that happens to be on a tree. I'm actually going to spearhead it, just throw it into the area. I'm not planning to ever have that back unless I actually get to it, but basically trying to make a stop that Ouse is not alone.
Okay, so you don't really need to roll for that.
Okay.
So Ouse, as you're moving in, healing healing the griffin that you blinded, the griffin's wounds do begin to close, and as it's sort of muttering, I'm not a child, I'm not a child, I'm letting out, that vocalization that some birds do as their tongues flutter in their beaks, as it's soothed at the fact that it's not feeling as much pain as it once was. And at that moment, a javelin goes flying from behind you, over your shoulder about a foot into the darkness of this forest. This part of the forest has been allowed to grow freely, so it's pretty thick.
So as it's healing and it starts doing this little cuckoo caca thing, I'm going to say to it, remember this day the lessons learned. The world is not a playground. It is a dangerous place filled with many dangerous things. Again, I'm still oblivious to the creatures circling in on me, so I'm just trying to scold this kid and try to give him some measure of understanding of what the real world and the real world dangers are.
Well, being that this javelin came flying over your head, it would sort of give you a slight heightened of awareness. 'Cause why would a javelin be flying overhead from behind you?
Okay.
I mean, obviously, your ally had javelins, but I'll allow you to roll another perception check. No advantage or anything, but you do get another free one.
And the other individual is still coming in late to the party, is he, Sam? Oh man, 6 that time, even worse.
I have no idea what's going on at this point. I just saw Aussies.
You told me saw me fuck up this griffin, and then promptly heal him, trying to earn some respect from this creature.
Yeah.
So
almost,
I'm totally focused in on this bird. I kind of feel a little bad about it falling and tumbling into these woods and hurting himself. I was just trying to scare it a little bit, and it went terribly wrong.
As an exclamation point to your scolding, it seems like leaves from this tree are falling, and they appear almost magical. Not magical in nature, but, almost like a magical moment. A moment that makes Ouse feel that regality that he felt in the presence of the enormous griffin that he was in the presence of earlier. He almost feels like he is that griffin, scolding a child, instructing a child on the ways of the world. The wind itself, caressing him, commanding the trees to even bow down. And though trees cannot bow, the best they can do is let their leaves fall at his feet. Ows, on the other hand, after letting loose that javelin, you notice that the 8 figures sort of stirred. And in their stirring to try to get away from this javelin, that's what made the leaves fall. And being that you had a 17 earlier, as this stirring happens, you hear a
From underneath, top of me?
from within the trees. It's out of sight,
Okay.
but it's within the darkness and the obscurity of the trees. Owls, believes that it's just the griffin vocalizing what it was before, just in a different tone.
All right,
Um,
I will come in, um, basically kind of like in a dive, but going into the motion of basically standing up and slowing down. I will say, "Get up, you fool! You're not alone." And taking a quick glance of the area of looking for this winged felines that I have seen. Um, Movie. I'm trying to just let them know now they can see me. I'm ready. I have my war glaive that's like just basically out, and I'm still in the air flapping.
well,
And
you're in the trees. It's too thick for you to flap.
too thick.
Yeah,
Um,
inside the forest,
okay.
most of these trees go unchecked, as they just make sure that the ones growing at the periphery are trimmed away to allow themselves the land that they need to make sure that the horses are in good condition, get to run. But at this perimeter, they really don't care what happens in the jungle.
hmm Um, but I'll basically quickly swoop over to where else is and just basically have my back towards him, and I'm just kind of doing a quick tumble of the weapon and let him know that trying to figure out which one I see, and then just wait and see if what happens.
All right, and what is Zed doing at this moment in
Zed,
time?
Zed sees this going on, and he's going to try and dive in there as well.
But
He's
he
going
can't see
to.
through the tree line because, like I said, it's thick. But he saw
Yeah,
two of his allies just go into the tree line after
yeah.
the griffin.
And he would follow them to make sure everything works out as it should. And the way he does so is he just kind of goes sideways, so his wings are long ways up and down, and he just glides in and just lands with like almost utter perfection as he just shakes his wings and they fold to his back almost perfectly, and he has his battle axe at the ready now.
All right. As he does this, the horse is long gone by this point. You no longer hear the panicking neighing of this horse. You can no longer smell really the scent of its blood. Your ability is not quite as honed as a griffin's, but it's long out gone. The only scent of blood you smell, of course, is that of the griffins. Then, if you guys are all in there now, right? Roll me a perception check, Zed.
Okay. Come on, Dice Stream. So I got an 8 on that.
Yeah. Okay. And Aus Rue, would you like to continue scolding this griffin?
No, my ally is at my back now, and I'm obviously aware that there's danger afoot. So I'm going to say to the child, Griffin, fight with us, earn your adulthood in battle and in blood. And as a bonus action, I am going to, if I could, cast divine favor upon myself. So as I'm scolding him and telling him to fight at our side, you see me reach and grab the amulet of my god that hangs around my neck. Say a few words to my god and cast divine favor.
Yeah. So as you're saying this and you're chanting your prayers, the adolescent griffin is shooting his head back and forth, trying to see what's going on, unable to do so. Fight, fight! Where are the horses? Where are the horses? And as he's saying that, you hear, and now you notice that the other vocalizations wasn't coming from the adolescent. You guys can hear the cracking of twigs under a large weight, and you hear, brothers, sisters, you see your prey. And everyone roll me a initiative check. Oop.
All right, this is the last roll for dice ring. 2 4s and a 5.
Your dice stream gets bad.
So it's a total of 7. That's right. Me and
Hey, you gotta
Hey,
live with
Brad.
it.
it is what it is. Huh?
Yep.
I'm cool with it. I like it. I see a lot of 20s rolled otherwise.
Wow. So what? 2 7s, and Gabe got a 12. Nice. So let me pull up dice stream. Let me just see my modifiers, which is very nice.
I'm still basking in the glory of my God as the energies flow through me.
All right, let me just write down this initiative order, and then we'll get to having some fun.
So this voice of this newest edition that's talking to the others is, do we see this creature as well?
This one you haven't seen yet.
No. The others all seem to be the same size, correct?
The ones that you're about to see, yeah, they're small.
Okay. We got a litter of manticores upon us.
Then there's...
You don't know that.
No, I don't. I don't think I do. I could always do some kind of a check, history, arcana, or something to try to figure out if we know what these creatures are.
Yeah, I'll allow you to do that for free. Go ahead, roll it.
I'm just seeing these guys for the first time, so if I could determine what their type of creature it is, it might help us in our fighting of them. There we go. Finally, a 19.
Yeah. So this is how this is going to unfold. You hear that voice coming from the obscurity of the forest, a little bit further away. You also hear all the cracking of twigs and, and like branches, like full-fledged branches, right? Louder than the noise and your steps that you're making. And it says, brothers, sisters, right? And then as the beginning of combat, you hear it cry out, charge your prey! And through the shadows in the canopy of the forest, all the branches, you start seeing just, at first it seems like dozens, but it's a large number of small animals, and you see them just about to charge Ausis. And Ausis does get to react before them as they reveal themselves, but Aus recognizes stories of them told in his church that these were once creatures that existed on the lower peaks, that once the alliance between these griffins was made in earlier generations, that the elder griffins, the greater griffins, the huge ones, managed to push them down, push them away, and with the help of the Aaricokra, they once waged war against them, and they believed them to all be dead. But these creatures are not nearly as large as the ones in the legend. The ones in the legend are as large as the griffins themselves. And some of these legends speak of how the griffins could not have pushed them away forever if it were not for the fact that the Aaricokra tribes united under the griffins and helped them. So with that, Ausis, it's actually your turn.
Yeah. Seeing the one or two that I'm looking at and just basically knowing what they're doing and knowing a little bit of the history, I will scream out, pray we are. but if you come one step closer, war will be amongst you once again, and you will be annihilated once and for all. And I do take a good defensive stance. So I'm taking the defensive maneuver because I'm going to let them make their way towards us if they want to proclaim their act of war that
Okay.
will happen.
All right. In what language? The voice that you heard speak was spoken in the tongue of the lowland races, the ones you trade with. It's their common tongue.
Common. So I would say that in common.
Okay. So you take a defensive action, and as you say that,
Dodge action actually is what it is, but yeah.
dodge action, yeah. So you see a few of these, about 4 of them, leap from the trees, and they have wings. They don't expand their wings, and just before they leap, you just hear them, growling. Their growls not quite the same as the one you heard before. They sound more like as they jump, like, and they all start leaping on you, nipping at you, scratching away at you. So, oh, that's terrible. What is your AC?
14.
Yeah, they all leap. I didn't roll with disadvantage because they were all horrible rolls. But let's see if I rolled with disadvantage. They would get worse. No, they would actually hit.
They would get better, yeah.
It would have been better. So what happens? They're all leaping, and they seem to have with your military training, you notice that they didn't wait till they were at the proper points on the tree branches. Their weight wasn't distributed efficiently. They just all leaped headlong at you. And they're nipping, and they're scratching, and they're missing horribly. You're just, with your defensive action, you're outstepping them, almost dancing around them. And House, knowing of these legends, recalling that these creatures are supposed to be as large as these great griffins that you serve under, and you see, a small handful of them, 4 of them, leap from the trees to attack Alcis. But they're tiny. They look more the size of prey animals than anything that would oppose these griffins. Even the adolescent griffin is much larger than these creatures. What does Aus do?
So if he's within range, the 2 that are upon him, and he's so valiantly defended off, I'm going to attack them.
Sure.
And these creatures are small, so I'm just going to actually, as a bonus action, I am going to again grab my amulet of my god and cast, say some spiritual words and cast spiritual weapon. Are you going to be allow me to have that active the same round that it comes into existence?
Yeah, if it's a bonus action, then
yeah,
you still have an action.
So I cast this spell, and just over my right shoulder, you see hovering a poleaxe, not too dissimilar from the one that I'm wielding in my hand. I'm going to do my attack first, and then I'm going to use the spiritual weapon to attack the same. Actually, I'm going to see how I do first if I kill it, and then I'll attack the other one.
Sure.
So I'm using a poleaxe. Critical fail, so I'm probably that's not so good. and then the other creature, the spiritual hammer or spiritual poleaxe. Right?
Yeah, it attacks like a spell attack. So
yeah, so I use my +6 to that. So 13 on the magical spiritual weapon, but on my attack with my poleaxe, I did a critical fail.
All right. Roll me another 2d20 with disadvantage to see if you hit your ally by mistake.
11 and 3.
Yeah. No. So you miss everything. As a matter
Actually,
of fact,
it would be 16 and 8.
Yeah, but it's with disadvantage because
Oh, okay, gotcha.
you're not specifically trying to target your ally. You would have. I'm assuming you would have tried to hold back your blow, which
After
is
I missed the
imposing.
creature?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so
which
I,
would
I
be
miss
imposing
I
self defense.
miss Osis then.
Yeah, so you pretty much miss everything, and some of these small creatures almost seem to jump up as they're just flailing around, jumping around, trying to swarm. Four is not a swarm, but it looks like they're trying to swarm on Alcis. They almost jump on the flat of your blade and jump off, and they almost seem like they're playing more than fighting. Um, so seeing this Zed, you can feel, you know, the mountain winds blowing from just outside the tree line in here. Seeing these small creatures growling and and you almost hear a slight giggle in their voices. What actions does Zed take?
Zeed's just going to take his action to cast darkness centered on himself. Centered on his battle axe, actually, or his great axe.
Okay.
So in a 15-foot circular area is dark around me.
So
And I have Devil's Sight to see through it, so
how close to your allies are you?
I'm right there beside him.
So everything is consumed in this magical darkness. All you can see is black before your eyes. You believe that you have just been blinded. Darkness has a verbal component to it, right?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, winds are dark, cold.
So yeah, as Zed is speaking, him feeling, the mountain air, the mountain breeze blow through these trees, stirring up a few of the leaves that fell to the ground. As he's speaking, it stirs up these leaves even more, and these leaves fluttering in this wind go from green and browns and oranges to just dark and darker until they're just pitch black, and it almost seems unnatural, the amount of leaves that get stirred up, almost as if magical, until there's enough to completely consume your vision. And with that, you start hearing more sort of growls as these creatures start moving away, and Ausis, you notice that they're no longer. You don't feel them trying to bounce across you. You don't feel them grazing you anymore. Uh, they're not on top of you. They're not swarming you. And Aus, you notice that there's no more jumping from your blades. You hear almost like a squealing as this sort of melee dies down. And again, you can hear from without the darkness the Zed.
So, if I
Yeah.
could, being in this compromised position, I'm going to put my pole axe up on my back in the harness, specially designed to have it.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull out my military pick and my shield to enhance my defensive capabilities because I'm feeling quite compromised.
Okay. So on your turn, you can do that, but this is the beginning of the new round,
Okay.
and this is when the other one, the one that spoke, goes.
Okay.
So you hear. So what Zed sees is that a little bit more distant, breaking the tree line, breaking its stealth, you can see another form similar to the smaller ones. This one much more defined, much more muscular, and much more larger. This one a bit bigger than the adolescent uh, griffin, that doesn't really know what's going on. You notice that the adolescent griffin is like just sort of snapping in the air, but it's still like almost in a sitting position, not knowing exactly what's going on, what to do. It's just like snapping, and the large creature shifts side to side, and he almost looks you dead in the eye as you're looking at it.
Mhm.
And you see it smile, teeth jagged, almost shark-like, in the fact that it has rows sticking out, and behind the rows sticking out, it has rows inside clenching. It smiles, and he goes, a mage, hmm? And then it spins around, flicks its tail at you, and as it does so, let's see, what's your AC?
That is 15.
Yeah, it hits you with as it loosens one of these spearheads at the end of its tail. It flies through the clearing of the trees, straight and true, piercing right through you, dealing 7 damage.
I didn't have disadvantage for the darkness that's around me, I'm assuming.
Not this one, no.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
And as it hits you, the spear just splurting blood as it sinks in. It smiles, and you hear the voice. All of you hear this voice. You are not the only one with a few tricks. He goes, brothers, sisters, have fun. And then it walks away back into the darkness again. And with that, after hearing that, Alsis, what does Alsis do, consumed by this blackness?
Yeah, I moved to the left because I came in, I turned, and I knew the left was outside. So if I can actually get to the left and fly up, I may have an advantage to survive this because can't believe my own ally blinded me.
Yeah.
I know. So
As you move out a little bit, you recognize that you weren't blinded, but there is an unnatural darkness within the trees, and everything disappears and is consumed by this darkness. And you can continue moving to the edge of the tree line and outside if you wish.
yeah, and then I will yell out, move to your left and up. Wake the weakling up and make sure he moves to the left. And then I'm actually going to order, and I'm going to actually order Zeed. Zeed, stay where you are. Do not impede us anymore. Do not stop us or hinder us. And I'll say, idiot. And I'll take I'll actually kind of go up, and then I'll be about 10 feet, since that's probably going to be about the movement. And then I will still take the dodge action for my turn, because I know there's nothing around me yet.
Okay. Yeah, with that amount of, because remember how the griffin fell 30 feet into the forest? You, with your mobility, have a land speed of 35, which you could have cleared the trees, but you would have had to take the dash action to move any further. So you're muted right now.
So I'll move the 35, because I keep pushing it. I'll move the 35, and then I will, but I'll still take the defensive action.
Okay, so you're still on the ground, but you're 5 feet from the tree line, taking the defense action. And you can, Ouse, you can still hear, these creatures bouncing and sort of going crazy, purring and yelling. Some of them actually get to attack you,
Sure.
but they're doing so with disadvantage. So let's roll.
Are you going to let me have that switch of gear prior to this, or still not my turn technically?
Yeah, it's not your turn yet. You go right after this series of attacks.
Okay, so my arm class is 14.
Yeah, but they're at disadvantage. So, when you get hit, it's more like they land on you and jump off of you, using you as a springboard more than as a pincushion. You then hear the griffin right before you go. Snappings, like you hear the chick 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 of its large beaks clenching down, and then it starts going. Ah! What? Ah! Ah! No! Stop poking me! As,
So it's still injured to the point where it cannot get up and retreat from this location.
It's it was, well, you can't really see what it is because of the blackness, but it's your go.
Yeah. So I'm going to do as I described earlier. I'm going to put my pole axe away and take up my shield and military pick. And I'm going to do as the lieutenant had done and just back up slowly back towards the tree line to get out of this circle of darkness. Now, when he got hit with those spikes or whatever Brack got hit with, did his concentration fail and this spell go down?
Brack, did you roll a concentration check?
There might not even be darkness around us anymore. I assume it is a concentration spell, correct?
Yep.
Because my actions will be quite different if I could see what I'm doing.
You would have got hit if it went down, though.
I would have got hit by the spikes.
Yeah.
By the smaller ones. Did it go down or is it still up?
It's still up.
Yeah, so it's still darkness here.
Alright, so I'm going to leave him and the dumb bird to their own end, and I'm going to, as I said, back out slowly, because in this darkness my ability to fight honorably has been diminished. So I'm going to take a defensive stance and back up, and if I got to do the double movement to reach the exit of the tree line, I'll do so.
Yeah, for you it would cost a double movement because you're slightly, you move and then you can escape the darkness after a mere 15 feet.
Right.
And then you also notice that you weren't blinded, but that there's just a darkness, an all-consuming darkness within this forest. And another 15 feet from that is the edge of the tree line. So you could move a total of 50 feet as an action and a move.
Yeah, I'll do that then. I'll move out the rest of the way out of the tree line and just try to regain my tactical vantage to see what the next move would be.
And with that, it's actually Zed's go. You see your two allies cautiously, moving away, taking direction, remembering the steps of their talons as they entered, and following those steps to get out of your darkness and escape. You can see that the adolescent griffin is being jumped on and nipped at by these creatures, and these small creatures seem to almost accidentally be piercing it with their small little spearheads on the tips of their tails. And it was nipping at nothing because it couldn't see, and now it's being struck, and at first it seemed to be sitting, thinking that a game is being played on it or some sort of trick, or this is part of its trial. And as it's taking damage, it's sort of trying to shelter itself with its wings now, to hide under its wings. What does Zed do?
Do I see the big guy?
The big guy you do not.
So he came out of nowhere, shot me with a spear, and now he's gone again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm actually going to just attack one of these little cubs, and I do so with advantage. I would assume, since they cannot see.
Yeah, no, they can't see, no.
I actually get to attack twice because I have Pact of the Blade and Thirsting Blade.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a +6, so 15, and a... Yeah. Okay, so then both hit. That's going to be 2d12 plus 6 damage.
+6 damage? Oh, yeah. 2 hits.
Yep.
Most definitely. Go ahead. So what is that? That's a 13 and a 9, which is 22?
Yep.
Yeah. With two of your attacks, two swipes, you can describe how you kill two of these small creatures.
Yeah, I just take my battle axe that's been the center point of my darkness spell for some time now, and I just take it, and as I'm concentrating on the spell, I remember, let the darkness take you, and I say that out loud, and slice down through one of them, and on the upswing back up through the other one, and then I point my axe in a finishing pose and look towards where the creature went and said, "You will be next."
In addition to that as well, DM, as I backed out, I did indeed leave my spiritual weapon behind, so if there's anything viable that it can attack.
Yeah, sure. It's
That I
also at
can
a bonus
see.
action, so you still could have done that.
Yeah, that's right. So if there's anything that I can see from my vantage point now, I would direct the spiritual weapon there to make an attack, but I probably can't because I would have to look through the darkness to see the creatures.
I'll allow it to swing at disadvantage.
Okay, so there's still some additional little kitten manticores running about.
Yeah.
All right, so I will send my spiritual poleaxe in that direction. I can move it up to 20 feet, so I will try to. So that's 11 to attack, to hit rather. 11 to hit.
11 misses.
Okay, no go.
Your spiritual weapon is flailing around on its own in the darkness, but not being able to know where anything is or command it properly. It just flails around. So Zed sees the spiritual weapon flailing around without any sort of direction as to where it's going. It's just spinning around trying to hit something. And it's spinning around slightly too high as these things are so small.
And can't you pull it out? Can't you pull it out of this area? Since you don't want the protection of the darkness?
That's right. So with that, more sort of creatures jump out, and the ones pouncing around up and down on the griffin are having fun, but a few of them peel off as you slayed their brothers and sisters, and they're attacking you. Yeah, your AC is what, 14?
Yep.
So let me roll a disadvantage for the one that hit. No, so it still hits. So you still take 7 points of damage as you're getting jumped up upon. Some of them, landing on your chest and on your legs, and it seems like they're just jumping off, playing around. But one of them, in its young retribution, digs its teeth into you, and with the smell of blood, some of the others sort of use their claws as they push off to scrape away at you as well, and combine.
That was my concentration check, by the way.
Yeah, that's naturally above 7, so you don't gotta worry about that. So the darkness maintains, and with that, Z, you see sort of between the trees, the large one appear again, and it's walking towards you, and out of reach of you, it looks to the side, and it goes, "The young ones that do not survive weren't meant for this life, hey?" And it smiles, and as it smiles, and it's within your vision, clearly within your vision, you can see it start fading away piece by piece, almost like the Cheshire Cat. The last thing you see are its two eyes and its rows of teeth and its smile before fading away. And with that, Ausis, all you manage to see is that just barely in the tree line, this all-consuming darkness seemed to move side to side and almost up and down as Zed was swinging his axe. But that's the only thing you managed to see. You can't tell what's going on inside. And it's your turn.
Nope. So I take it. I mean, I take it that Alice has made it out, and Zed has stayed inside, and there's no cubs that came out or anything in that progress. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into where the area where the voice of the adult or the lower was, and actually kind of fly over the tree line if I can, and then kind of come down into it to see if I can find him.
It appears that the tree line, the tree coverage is pretty thick, as these trees are, maybe 5-6 feet away from each other. So as it goes up, the branches intertwine a bit.
And I have a wingspan of about 10 feet. Okay.
Yeah. It's easy as hell for you guys to walk into.
Yeah. Then that's what I'm going to have to do to find out, to get some kind of know where he's at, and basically challenge the adults if I can find him. That's my idea.
So so you go in and you're just holding an action?
I would go in to see if I can where the talking came from, knowing where that is, and then I would actually at that point then challenge him if I do see him. If I don't see him, then I'm going to kind of be looking, but I know he's in this area. I don't know that he completely disappeared. I'm just going in that where the noise was.
All right, cool. After you fly in and you're trying to scope out where this voice came from, you swear that you're near it, but it's still just inside of the darkness. Just inside of the darkness is where you heard it, and you're just outside of the darkness, preparing to strike. You can hear, the griffin crying out in pain again, and the griffin is like, "Stop it! Stop it! This isn't funny anymore!" And you wouldn't be able to notice, but there's more of a commotion and all the yelps and stuff. Zed can actually use a reaction to make an attack of opportunity if he likes, because these creatures are starting to run out from the darkness.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So 1 at advantage. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's going to hit. So it's going to be
roll your damage.
1d12 plus 3. So that's 13 damage.
Oh, good God. Yeah, you didn't manage to kill any of the other remainders outright, but you wounded one of these small creatures pretty badly. They're dispersing, so through, you can see a few of them break through the darkness, just in the tree line, and as they see you, they sort of flap their wings a bit. They fly up as high as they can before jumping back onto the tree limbs and trying to climb into the trees.
Alright, so it's my turn, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So the general area where these 2, or the number that came out and into the trees, I'm just going to summon a pyre of fire from the heavens, come crashing down and into the trees where they are. So I'm going to do Sacred Flame.
Alright, and I gotta roll a dex save. What's the DC? Probably failed.
DC's 14, I believe.
Yeah, they failed it, so they take, what is that, D8 Radiant? Or 2D8 Radiant?
At this level, it would be...
I believe it's a 2D8.
2D8, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to roll that. You got it.
Yes, sir.
No, Jesus. Fucking.
Was that a 1 and a 2?
That's right, yeah. 3.
Alright, you can describe how the Sacred Flame kills the wounded pup as it tried to climb into the tree. This one was slower than its kin because of its wounds.
Alright, so as the 2 feline creatures climbed the tree, one gracefully, the other not so much, as it limps, as it climbs into the upper branches. The faster and swifter of the other gets deeper into the woods, while the other, the slower injured one, kind of lingers behind. You see Asrul reach to the heavens with his amulet, say a few magical words, sprinkle a few ounces of sulfur about his body, and as he raises his hand and lowers it quickly, at the same time, from the heavens you see a scorching ray, pyre of fire, come crashing down into the tree. The uninjured feline creature is able to jump to the next tree in line, whereas the injured one, as it's about to leap, gets caught into the branches and is consumed by the fire as the tree engulfs around it.
All right, cool. With that, Zed, you can see this light illuminating just outside of your darkness. This sacred light, this divine light, consuming one of these creatures. And the last image of the larger one faded away, mere feet away from you, almost within arm's reach. What does Zed do?
So there's no more of these things within range, right? That's
That you can see? No, there's the smaller ones retreated away and up into the trees.
okay. So I'm looking around for Papa, Big Papa. Where's he at?
You can't see. You can roll a perception if you'd like.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I do have Devil's Sight if that makes a difference.
No, not really.
So that's an 8 again.
Yeah, you can't see anything. You can't see anything of him.
It's probably amazing that I saw these little cubs inside my little sphere here.
Oh no, the cubs you saw clear as day with your devil sight. There was no obscurity to them at all.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just take up position right where I'm at, and I got a packed weapon here. Does that I can dismiss that, right?
Yeah, as you can let it go, and about a minute after it's let go, it disappears, or you can just use a bonus action to sort of absorb it back.
I'll do that. I'll do that, and the darkness will fade, and they will see me with two piercings through my chest, I guess, at this point.
Yeah. Well, only once were you pierced by the spike.
Okay. Something else got me for 7 though too. So.
Yeah. You have a bunch of tiny little scratches from the smaller ones.
Okay.
And do you do anything else after that, or?
I'm just dancing there now, just kind of taunting this big badass that wants to hit and run.
As you're doing that, let's see. Let me read this again. All right. You can say fool. You can say. You hear me? You hear the words "Fools fall before me. If you live, tell your lords that death comes for you all." And as you hear this speaking, all three of you start to see the teeth appear, moving, then eyes, then its face, then its mane, all the way to its body and its wings, and it seems to be almost crawling backwards. And as it's speaking, shadows are escaping its maw, and as he says, "Oh," he opens his maw, and the same sort of deep, dark, unpenetrable darkness that you saw consuming this area, you can see it in his maw. And then you see it once again sort of surround you. Everything fade, but instead of seeing leaves turn to pitch black and multiply until it was darkness, this time the darkness takes the form of tendrils and just pure black teeth and maws chomping away at the light. And it surrounds you, and you can hear sort of whispers. You can't tell what they're saying. They're just hush. Then you hear slurping noises, the sound of tongues. You can feel the tongues brush across your skin. you can hear the whispers just outside your ears, almost as someone was whispering right at your shoulder. And then you feel cold, as if death creeps upon you. And I would like all of you guys, let's see, all of you were in there, or was it just two of you that were next to that sphere of darkness?
I'm still on the outside of the tree
Yeah.
line. I did not re-enter.
Okay, so you were still outside of the tree line. So it would be Alcis and
I,
yeah, you
yeah,
need to roll a save.
I did re-enter, but I was smart enough not to get near Zed. But yep. Oh.
Yeah, how far away from Zed were you?
If his sphere is what, 15 feet, I would have been another 5 feet beyond that, so 20 feet from him.
So
I don't know where in fact he is at, but if it's one of those things that's 20, 30 feet, I don't know. I just know I wasn't too close to it because
yeah, if you were an additional 5 feet away from his sphere, you would be 20 feet away from him. So when you see this darkness start to form and consume, it centers on Zed, and as it's, consuming everything around it, the darkness comes to you, and it consumes you as well.
okay.
Aus, you see that this darkness only just barely consumed Alcis. But I'm still going to require Alcis and Zed to make saves.
Yep.
Let me just read.
All I know is right now it's a 9. Oh wait, you know what? I'm gonna ask
Oh,
him. I'm
wow.
gonna put
No,
that in
you
there.
don't get to make saves yet.
No, okay.
Yeah, it was my
Sweet.
mistake. So after that, Alcis, you take 6 points of cold damage,
Okay.
and now you get to move. And this is difficult terrain, as you can feel what only feels like tongues lapping at your limbs, trying to pull you towards the center. But you do get to move.
Okay.
So to get out of it, it's 10 feet of movement.
10 feet of movements. Okay, so I will move. Use 20, so that'll be 10 feet beyond. 30
it'll be
feet.
15 feet to get beyond it. So your 20 moves you 15 feet away. But yeah, you get out of it.
Okay, yeah, I'm moving out of it. And is it my action or is it just a reaction to move out?
No, it's your turn. You
Okay.
started your turn in this darkness, so you took
Okay.
damage for that.
Okay.
You weren't able to break the tree line this time, but you can see that there's a huge sphere of darkness, and off in the distance, the large creature, toothy creature sitting there, as he was moving away, crawling, slinking back into the forest.
Okay. Then I'll move my movement speed that I need to do. And then, as my bonus action, I'm actually going to ruffle my feathers and, kind of shake off the little bits of ice that's on my wings. And I'm actually going to be with that. That's using the second wind.
Cool.
And yeah, so that's going to be 16. So yeah, and that's going to overcome that. And then that's when I'll look and kind of go towards the direction that this feline creature has gone or backing up into.
You won't be able to actually reach it, but you can see it, and it
Mhm.
sees you coming. And then with that, it's actually Aus's turn. So you saw, this whole thing go down, and the creature moved deeper into the tree line, almost a full 30 feet.
Right. When we were doing our flyovers before we went into the grove where the griffin had fallen, were we able to see any breakages in the thickness of the tree? Like, am I able to get down behind this retreating cat-like creature in any way? I know you had mentioned to Gabe earlier that it was too thick for him to go down through the trees.
Well,
Is
to
there,
see, you can dive down and break through the branches,
right.
but you can't really. It's too thick to see underneath the tree line.
Right, so the darkness is gone. Do I have a general from my
No, there's
vantage?
another darkness. The darkness that Zed had created is gone.
So
There
now
was
it's the
another
magical
one.
darkness from the creature itself.
Yeah.
So do I have a general idea of where the creature is retreating to?
Yeah, he's retreating deeper into the forest.
So what I'm going to attempt to do is to go into the air and fly over to the general area in behind where I perceive him to be at this point, and I am going to try and crash through the trees and to stop his retreat.
Okay. I'm just gonna say you take D6 damage from the trees. So I'll roll that D6. 3 points of damage. No big deal for you.
Nope.
Roll me a D100. If you roll above 50, so if you get 51 or more, you manage to cut his retreat off.
All right. Here we go. So yeah, I'm able to bust through the trees, angling my descent such that I'm able to crash through, just taking a few minor scratches upon my arms as I crash through with my weapon out in front of me. That's able to, machete my way through the tree limbs, basically, and I'm
Yeah.
able to land on the ground just in front of where the retreating cat-like monstrosity is going. If that's cool.
Sure.
Weapon in hand, ready to lash out at this creature.
All right. So with that, it's actually Zed's go. Zed,
So what's going on?
you take 7 points of cold damage And from this darkness. Oh wait, you have devil sight. You can see what looks to be just countless floating disembodied maws, right? Drooling. There's nothing behind them. You know, once you see behind them, they seem to disappear. And once you see beside them, in front of them, they're biting away and they're opening. The maws are parting. These teeth are parting, and tentacles, are coming out of their maws. Tentacle-like tongues are coming out of their maws. They're breathing intense cold, and these tentacles touch you. You can feel the cold and almost acidic saliva burning away at you. But as the initial reaction, you feel the cold first, and you take 7 points of cold damage. And you can hear these sort of incomprehensible whispers and slurping going on.
Okay, so at that, not yet another 7 points being dealt. I'm not a warrior. I am a shaman. So I'm going to tuck tail and start flying on out of there.
You can't open your wings wide enough to fly out. Remember, the trees are approximately 5 to 6 feet away from each other.
So dash action to leave with my weapon summoning.
So
summoning my weapon back. So yeah.
Summoning your weapon takes an action, so you have to choose between summoning your weapon and dashing. And 20 feet of this is difficult terrain, as these tentacle-like tongues are reaching out, trying to pull you in.
Okay.
So what do you want to do? Let me know.
I'm still leaving.
Okay, are you dashing, or?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to dash to leave.
Yeah.
All right, so you managed to get out of it, and the darkness is there. You see into this darkness, and you can see all the horrors that are in. Nobody else knows it but you. So after Zed goes, the large creature, as you crash down through this tree line, Ouse, it turns to you. It's about 10 feet away from you, and it's looking at your large axe, and it begins to smile, and he goes, You're a brave one, aren't you? And it sort of stands up tall, righting itself on all fours. And it looks like it's stretching, and it goes, too bad. And you start seeing it fade away as it's speaking, and as it, utters forth the words, too bad. All you see is the teeth in its maw, and then it fades into nothingness. So, how do you gentlemen react to this? You can just let me know whatever's in your minds. The darkness, for the rest of you, that sphere of darkness is still there. For Zed, you still see those disembodied maws flying and floating around, searching for a meal.
They're still around me.
Yeah. The adolescent griffin, he managed to escape the darkness, but he's like on his last legs. It looks like he's about to just drop dead right there.
So is he coming in my direction on the other side of the darkness created by this monster, or did he try to get through and go out through the way which we all came in?
Would you like him to have moved in your direction?
For sure. I'm kind of can't do anything otherwise. I would like to try to.
So he moves towards you. He only gets a few feet out of this darkness, which would mean he's about 25 feet away from you. And interposed, bisecting that line of fire was where the manticore was, and he was only 10 feet away from you.
Okay, so I'm going to try to attempt. Well, it's not my action, is it?
No, go ahead. Roughly, you're in combat, but I'll allow you guys to just act however you'd wish.
Definitely at this point, seeing that the griffin, who was hard charged, and I know it's silly because I started all this chaotic mess myself by causing this creature to crash into the ground. I'm going to attempt yet again to go forward with my hands raised, chanting encouraging words of magic, praising the Lord Aslam as I try to heal the injured griffin.
Alright, so you start saying your prayers and going to heal the griffin, and let's see something. Alright. And as you're walking towards the griffin, as you get about 15 feet, 15 feet away from your current position, you hear the voice of this creature just behind you.
Okay.
And it says, "Your spells are worth nothing."
So, as I reach my hands out, I don't feel contact with my god. I don't feel the healing energy surge through me.
You do manage to heal the griffin. The griffin, recoils back initially as you touch it, in fear, in pain, crying out, basically being a whiny little child at this point.
Will you allow me a perception check of some sort to try and determine if this manticore is just using magic to make himself insubstantial or invisible?
You can roll it if you like. Roll a perception check.
Oh, critical fail. I have no idea about arcane magics or the magics of manticores. I know that they used to be the sworn enemy of griffins, but I don't know much about their magical properties.
So, what else? What are you other guys are doing as all this is going on? The griffin, it reels back in fear, but as soon as you managed to touch it and the spell did go off, so after it reeled back, some of its wounds are starting to close. And it's trying to calm down, raising its head slowly, searching for contact, for friendly contact. It's moving around, not knowing where it's moving its head, but its eyes are still open because it's blind.
Alright, moving to the outside of the tree line, I'm actually going to yell, "Everyone up!" tactical retreat. And looking at the young Griffin, that includes you. Today was not your day of proving. Maybe another day. We have more pressing things at hand. War is upon our tribe. War is upon them. We will fight back. Now is not the time for you to pretend to be a man. Let's go. And
And
then,
okay, I was gonna just interrupt you for a second. Yeah,
and
as you
I'm just,
do your war chant, all of you can see in the distance the manticore fade into existence again. It's smiling, it tilts its head, and go, "War indeed!" And then it turns and starts running away, and it disappears deeper into the forest, um, out of sight once again, fading piece by piece. So with that, we're gonna call it.
I do want
And
to make one thing.
sure.
As soon as Z drops his darkness, I'm actually going to grab him by the neck and fly him down and release him at 5 feet, and then zoom up.
Yeah, you can.
And I'll to learn, teach him, don't ever do darkness in front of people who can't see in darkness.
So yeah, each one of you, you can do your outros, and if you'd like to reintroduce yourself to the viewers and plug any channels you have, feel free. We'll start in the same order. We can go Troy, Gabe, and Brack. Do your thing.
Alright, so Ostrul, having felt completely useless with his capabilities of combat, which he's honed all of his 3 years of life, feels that this day was not won by him and his allies. But there will be a day in the future that they will get redemption for their failures. Again, he feels sorry about what he did to the griffin, but at the same time, that creature was in need of an awakening, and he certainly has gotten one today. So, my name is Troy. My first time playing Birdman. Will probably be the last because again, it's not a race that I'm super keen to play. But anyway, I did enjoy the game, Nelson. I appreciate it. I do run a small channel called DMT Tabletop Gaming, and I do play some games and run some games on there. Not a lot of content about talking about role-playing games. It's mostly live plays at the moment, but I hope to change that. Again, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. Brackor on YouTube. Had a lot of fun playing Zed, the worshipper of Asmodeus. Asmodeus, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah. He had a dark pact with him, and that's what I was trying to show today a little bit of. The Dark Wind was another name that he hopes to achieve one day, but today was not that day to achieve that goal, unfortunately. So.
And my name is Gabe. I don't have a channel, but I will do a shout out to the Don Forge, SR Joker, Yarrow DM, Infinity Roleplay, and Tabletop Terrorism. You know, be a better game master and all of them. They have actually great channels. Check out the games if you haven't checked them out. Also check us out on the Tabletop One Shot group. A lot of games going on and a lot of things to enjoy. And yeah, so with my character of his full 7 years of life, he's ready for war. He's been ready for war, and he's basically been training for it, and he's going to bring it upon the elders, let them know. We are taking war to these feline things that I'm later find out are manticores, and we will do everything we can. So other than that, that's going to be it for me.
Yeah, once again, I've been Nelson. This is Infinite Roleplay. I hope you viewers enjoyed watching this low preparation, mostly improvisational game. Forgive me for ending it short. I know it must feel short. I'm trying to stay within the 2-hour confines of what a lot of people in one-shots are comfortable with, and my 5-hour one-shots. I hope you guys enjoyed. The rest of you take care. I'll be having another game today called Catch of the Day if you want to chill around and watch. This game has been brought to you via the Tabletop RPG One Shot group on Facebook. We play games of almost every type, almost any time, worldwide. So, feel free to go check it out. Check out all these guys' channels. You can trifle through my channel. I do art stuff and more roleplay stuff and all that crap anyway. So, until then, peace out.